Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really complex theory about a global agenda. The source materials we're looking at allege there's this multi-layered plan to completely transform human society by the end of this decade.
Okay, so let's dive right in with the big question that this analysis puts on the table. Are all the crises we see, the health issues, the social problems, are they just a string of bad luck? Or, as the source material argues, could they actually be part of a single coordinated strategy?
So here's how we're going to break this all down to really understand the argument. We'll look at the alleged soft kill operation, then the destruction of independent livelihoods, the engineering of social chaos, what the supposed 2030 endgame is, and finally, what the sources suggest as ways to resist. All right, first up, let's tackle what the sources call the soft kill operation. This is described as the biological bedrock, really, for the entire agenda that's laid out. So what exactly is a soft kill? It's a pretty intense term, but it's crucial to get this. The sources aren't talking about something obvious or violent. It's the opposite. They're pointing to a quiet, gradual process of wearing down the population biologically over many, many years. And this really puts it into perspective. The sources ask you to think back a few decades. They claim that in schools back then, seeing a kid with an asthma inhaler was almost unheard of. Now, they say we're living through an epidemic of chronic conditions in our kids. So what's the upshot of all this, according to the analysis? We're talking about a huge decline in public health, especially in the younger generation. The argument is that this isn't just some accident of modern living, but the actual goal, to change the biological state of the population and make it, well, easier to manage. Okay, so once you have the biological claims, the next piece of the puzzle is the economic side. The sources argue these two things are completely linked. It's about weakening people's health and, at the same time, taking away their ability to be self-sufficient. So the idea here is that the attack on our health runs parallel to an attack on our economic independence. And the main target? The independent farmer. The alleged goal is to basically get rid of local food production and put the entire food supply into the hands of just a few massive corporations. And they get pretty specific about how this is supposedly happening. They point to policies that are literally driving farmers off their land, sometimes replacing that productive farmland with things like solar panels. And they also bring up the lockdowns, arguing they were used as a tool to wipe out small and medium businesses, which just funnels more power to the corporate giants. All right, so we've got the biological and the economic. The third layer, according to this argument, is all about social conflict. The idea is that a population that's already weakened and dependent is much easier to divide and, ultimately, to control. The argument is really this. Chaos isn't just happening, it's being used as a tool. The sources use this incredible metaphor of shaking the ant jar. If you shake a jar of ants, they start fighting each other, and they have no idea that some outside force is what's actually causing the chaos. And this isn't seen as just a local problem here or there. No. The claim is that this is a coordinated strategy playing out all across Europe. The analysis suggests these events are deliberately fanned to shake the very foundations of society. And this slide, wow, it really lays out the supposed playbook. It's a classic problem-reaction-solution setup. First, you create a problem, like social chaos. Then you swoop in with the pre-planned solution, which always seems to involve more surveillance and control. This, according to the sources, is exactly where ideas like digital IDs and 15-minute cities come from, tools designed to manage and restrict people's movement. So where is all this heading? What's the endgame? According to the sources, it all points to one very specific and radical conclusion. And this isn't some far-off, hazy future plan. The sources are really clear on this. There's a deadline. That year, 2030, just keeps popping up as the target date to get this whole societal transformation done. And here it is, the ultimate goal, according to this analysis. It's about fundamentally changing who's in charge. The idea is to phase out national governments, the ones you vote for, and replace them with private corporate structures. In that world, we're no longer citizens. We're just managed by corporations and banks we have no say over. Now, to even consider a plan like this, you'd have to have a pretty specific view of humanity, right? Well, the sources give it a name, and it's a chilling one: hackable animals. It's this philosophy that sees human beings not as sacred or special, but as a biological resource that can be managed, controlled, and, even thrown away when they're not useful anymore. Okay, so after laying out this really intense, pretty grim picture of what's allegedly going on, the sources don't just leave you there. They actually spend a lot of time talking about how to push back.
The response they propose is basically built on three pillars. The first is social. Just refuse to get pulled into the artificial conflicts that are designed to divide us. The second is practical. Use the law and economic pressure to challenge the system. And the third is maybe the most important, a deeper spiritual fight for our basic human values.
And just to give you a concrete example of what they mean by lawful resistance, they bring up this campaign from the UK called No Tax for War. They explain how it uses existing laws to let people legally withhold their taxes as a way to protest government actions they believe are illegitimate. But in the end, the final call to action here isn't just about politics or money. It's something much deeper, much more personal. It's an appeal to remember what makes us human: our creativity, our love, our connection, and to fight for that against a system that, according to this analysis, wants to strip it all away. And that really leaves us with the big question that this entire analysis pushes us to consider. When you're faced with these kinds of claims about where our world is headed, it forces you to stop and ask yourself, what do I truly value and what is really worth fighting for?